In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this timeless tulips card using a masking technique and a technique on the cord. Let's get started with the supplies you'll need. I'm going to start with the timeless tulip stamp, and then for ink, you're going to need Grapefruit Grove, Calypso Coral, Old Olive, and Pear Pizzazz. I'm going to use the Baker's Twine, which has 4 colors in it, and we're going to use the Grapefruit Grove, which will match our card. For tools, you need the Take Your Pick tool, a pair of scissors for ribbon, bone folder, snail, and another pair of scissors. I'm also going to use these basic adhesive back sequins. Here's the cardstock you'll need, including some scrap strips of white, and you should have lots of those, I just saved them. You'll also need some Post-it notes, and I'm going to start with this piece of Whisper White, which is 4.5 by 4, so just make sure you've got it going the right way. And I'm starting by stamping 2 of the tulips in Calypso Coral ink on the white paper, and then I'm also going to stamp them on the Post-it note down towards the sticky side. I'm going to take this piece of Regal's Designer Series paper, and it comes in a 6x6 size, and I'm going to show you how to cut it so you get the orientation right on the card, because there's words on here, so you've got to turn the paper and cut it at the 4-inch mark with the words going sideways, so that when you cut the 1-inch mark, the words will be the right way. And this is the new little paper trimmer that you can get during Celebration. Next, we'll fold the card base in half using a bone folder to get a nice sharp crease. And then I'm going to cut out the Post-it note masks. Now when I do this, I'll cut 2 or 3 Post-it notes at a time so that I've got multiple masks that I can use. Only the top layer will be stamped, but that's fine. So when you're cutting this, you want to cut just inside the line and just move your paper around and make nice sharp cuts with the scissors to get this. It takes a few minutes to do this, but then once you've done it, you've got them, and then I just store them right inside my stamp case so that I can use them over and over again until they're not sticky anymore. And remember, we stamped those right down near the sticky part, so that will now stick to our paper, and that's what we call a mask. So that's going to lay on top so that I can stamp over top of them without ruining the image that is stamped underneath. So now I'm going to stamp the stems with the Old Olive ink, and there's several different stems in this stamp set, but one of the things you can do is just turn the stamp around and you'll get the stem automatically going the different way. And we don't care that I've stamped this right over top of the flower image, because remember, that's a mask. So I'm going to stamp some leaves now in Old Olive as well, and there are 3 different leaves patterns in this stamp set, so you can play around with them. And again, even just by turning those leaves around, you'll get different looking images. So there's really quite a variety of flower types and leaf configurations that you can make. So now I'm going to take the Grapefruit Grove ink with the smaller tulip image, and I'm going to stamp, and I'm stamping right over top of my mask. And the whole idea of the mask is so it's going to give the illusion that the flowers are behind this first flower that I stamped. I'm stamping some images directly straight with the ink, and some images I'm stamping off. So what's called stamping off, you're just stamping it in strong ink and then re-stamping again without re-inking, again to give that illusion that some of those flowers are further behind than the initial flowers. So I'm just cleaning the stamps off here because I'm switching to Pear Pizzazz, which is a lighter green, and I'm using that for these lighter flowers, and also again stamping off for some of those flowers that are in the background, so it gives the illusion again that they're further away and making it all match. And you can see I'm flipping my stamp around here just to give different orientations to the stem. I could have grabbed the other stem from the set, but I generally tend to be lazy when I'm stamping and I just want the one image. So you can see I mess around here quite a bit trying to get it looking just the way I want, like a cluster of flowers in a garden or a field, and with which orientation I'm doing and all that. Also, I'm going to fill in with the Pear Pizzazz, the leaves, and again making them go every which way. So I'm just going to speed this part up, and you'll see near the end that I fill in at the bottom as well. with just some of the stem bits to make it look more like grass and stuff. So now I'm going to take off the Post-it note masks, and remember to save those. And you can see that I've got the look I want. However, I have managed to put some fingerprints on the card, so I'm going to use this Mono Sand Eraser, which I got just from Amazon. And what it does is it's a very fine grit eraser, and it will take off this sort of a very top layer of paper, which basically takes off any ink smudges. It's my favorite little thing to use. So I'm just cleaning up the card a little bit here. So next I'm going to stamp the saying, and I'm going to use one of these scraps that I keep on hand. They're perfect for little things like this. And I'm going to use the Calypso Coral ink and the Happy Birthday from the stamp set. I always like to test my sayings on a piece of scrap paper first, just so I can see how they're going to stamp. Next I'm going to show you how I did the ribbon. So I'm measuring about 10 inches here, and I'm using my ribbon scissors. I've got them marked with a ribbon on them, and I find if you keep scissors like that, they will keep nice and cut nicely if you just use them for ribbon. So I'm measuring this cord in half, and I'm going to tie a knot in the middle. And then I'm going to tie a subsequent knot on either side of that middle one. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfectly lined up, but you can sort of guide the knot to where you want it to go, so you can try to have roughly equal spacing between each of the knots. And I'll just keep going back and forth on either side until I've got a nice little knotted cord. And it's just a little fun element to add that isn't tying a bow and not just a plain piece of cord either. Now attaching this is a little bit tricky, and I think I did it the trickiest way possible on here. In other cards that I've made, I actually used some of our Terran tape to secure it at the back instead of what I'm doing here, which is with the snail. I've also used a piece of just Scotch tape to secure it at the back, and dimensionals is another idea that you can secure it at the back, and then this one piece would be a little bit raised up on the card. So all those things work. This way you just need a ton of snail to make sure it's really going to stick, and you can see that I really cover the card with a lot of snail here too to lay that piece down. If you're using dimensionals, you're probably going to want to put the tulip side down first rather than this side, so that it can kind of be raised up over top of that. So I'm just going to put all this together now. I put a little bit of snail in each corner and a little bit in the middle. And I take my time to line it up. And then once I know it is in the right spot, I give it all a little bit of a rub to secure it down. So I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool here, and I'm just starting with a fresh piece of the gummy stuff because it had been sitting there for a while. And it's tacky, and so then you can just pick up your embellishment, whatever that is, and put it down. Love this tool. Okay, and then I'm going to take a pair of scissors. Now these are not my ribbon scissors, and I'm going to just trim this saying out a little bit there. And sometimes I like to do notches, and sometimes I like to just cut it at an angle. And I'm using snail again to attach this, but dimensionals would be cute. Maybe the mini dimensionals on this would be cute as well. So there we are. There's the finished card. There's my one I did before. I actually did use dimensionals on the saying, so you can kind of see it's popped up a little bit more. And you can see just different patterns in the way I've done the tulips. Thanks so much for watching. Check back to stampwithjen.com often for other tips, tricks, and ideas.